tamagun and rajagun, full of violence and ignorance, whatever. Not a good place to be because it's the opposite of spiritual world. Still, the Lord appears in this world out of his great compassion for the jivas. And his responsibility is to try to elevate them. So therefore, one of the ways in which he does this is by his appearance within the material world. We know that if you talk to people, modern people especially, they tend to be very atheistic. So they'll say, well, how can we believe in God? We can't see him. Show God to us. So therefore, sometimes the Lord does appear. He manifests in the world. He says, here I am. Now you should believe because I'm here. As with the Nrsimhadev, he appears, and then the people are forced to admit, okay, we can see this Supreme Lord, he's manifested himself. And so the people get faith because of that. Of course, some people don't get faith. Ranikasipu saw Nrsimhadev and he said, oh, this is another trick of Vishnu. And I can kill him because he's got a body like everybody else. I got powers from Brahma, so I can kill him. So in spite of the fact that the Lord does appear, and so that's sort of proof that the Lord does exist, still, some people who are like big demons, they're always convinced that no, even if he does appear, we're not going to believe it. So of course, then those people are rather hopeless. But for other people, the appearance of the Lord gives them some conviction. Yes, the Lord does exist, and we can't see him with our eyes. So therefore, the Lord appears throughout the day of Brahma. And just for variety, he takes different forms. So these are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the first canto and in the second canto, whole list of avatars that appear from the beginning of the day of Brahma onwards. Right? And so the Lord appears in remarkably different forms, such as boar, or fish, or turtle, or half-lion, or horse, or bird, or human-like forms, or dwarf forms, giant forms, etc., to give variety and astonishment to the people of this world. So this way he appears. And then when he does so, not only his appearance gives conviction, but he often gives teachings. He gives instructions to the human beings on how to conduct themselves. So therefore we get Krishna instructing Bhagavad Gita, for instance, or teachings to Uddhava. And these teachings also are a way of delivering the jivas of this material world. In this way, the Lord appears all through the day of Brahma. And within each yuga, then he also keeps appearing. Of course, the Leela avatars may appear once in the day of Brahma or several times, or in the case of Matsya, 14 times, in the case of Vamana, 3 times, in the case of Varaha, 2 times. But then others maybe once. Ramchandra appears once, Krishna appears once. Therefore, the avatars are there. But then we have the repetitive avatars, the Yuga avatars. 1,000 times the Satya avatar, Satya Yuga avatar appeared. 1,000 times Treta Yuga avatar appears. 1,000 times in the day of Dwarpa Yuga avatar appears. And 1,000 times the Kali Yuga avatar appears. So they are repeating 1,000 times in the day of Brahma. In this way, the Lord guarantees that no one can accuse him of being indifferent to the jivas. He's continually coming, showing himself, teaching, setting good example for everyone. So in this way, he cares for the jivas. So
there you go.
Ours are
That's so pretty.
Except Avatar, who are jivas with special powers. The others are ultimately Bhagavan.
Okay.
One Bhagavan, but he has all these different forms. But the forms are different. So we have the boar form or the lion form, fish form, etc. And they perform different activities. Fish swims in the water. Boar dives into the Garbhodak ocean and pulls out the earth. Nrsimhadev is a lion, carries the Partarandikasipu, pulls out his intestines. So they all have remarkably different forms and different activities, primarily, the primary activity different. And their qualities are also somewhat different. One quality in Nrsimhadev, of course, is ferocity. So we will not see that same type of ferocity in other avatars as we see in Nrsimhadev, where he'll just tear apart Hiranyakasipu with his claws, put his intestines around his neck as a garland, etc. But at the same time, Nrsimhadev is very, very affectionate to Prahlad. It just changes completely when he sees Prahlad. So he's also very affectionate. So it's two sides of his personality. Other avatars like Vyasadeva, that he just manifests and divides up the Vedas and writes Puranas and Mahabharata, etc. It's more like a sage, acts as a sage, or Kapila, he gives teachings. So the avatars act and show different qualities. Of course, they're all very merciful, etc. But they do show different qualities when they appear in this world. So there is a hierarchy because they manifest different amounts of qualities. Some show more qualities, some show less qualities. Even though they're all Bhagavan, they all have the same qualities ultimately. They don't manifest in that particular form. So in this way, we can classify all the different forms. That is one of the reasons why we'll have a description of these different forms and the lists of the different forms in the Bhagavatam, etc. So just to make that clear, in works like Chaitanya Charitamrita or in Laghu Bhagavatamrita, we get classification, who's lower and who's higher, even though they're all one Bhagavan. Nevertheless, by manifestation of qualities, we get lower and higher. So when we do that, who's manifesting all the qualities or lesser qualities, etc., the conclusion is that Krishna manifests all the qualities to maximum, whereas others do not. And therefore, even though they're all Bhagavan, still we give Krishna a very special position. He is Swayam Bhagavan. So this is the basis of the whole Bhagavatam, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. And all other statements of the Bhagavatam must agree with that statement ultimately. So sometimes it says Shiva is Bhagavan or whatever, then we have to make that agree somehow with the fact that Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, he is the ultimate form, or Vishnu is supreme, and then ultimately Krishna is Bhagavan Swayam. So everything must agree with that statement in the Bhagavatam, finally. This was the whole purpose of Vyasadeva writing Bhagavatam under the advice of Narada Muni, to show Krishna as the highest form of God, and therefore most worshipable by the people of Kali Yuga. So therefore we put Krishna at the very top. And that's the conclusion of Bhagavatam. And therefore Bhagavatam says you have to worship Krishna. But then who's Lord Chaitanya? Why do we have to worship Lord Chaitanya? So there is elaborate explanation of this in particularly Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now, Lord Chaitanya is a Yuga avatar, and Yuga avatars generally are secondary forms. They don't manifest all the powers. Actually, they appear for a short period of time. The manifest qualities, usually teaching. So, Satya Yuga avatar teaches meditation. Dwapara Yuga avatar teaches yajna or that. So they don't manifest so many powers like killing demons and whatever. Just manifest teaching or whatever like that. So we say Lord Chaitanya is the Yuga avatar. So he's teaching Nam Sankirtan, yes. But then we have all these avatars, and then we have Krishna, who is Swayam Bhagavan. He's greater than the Yuga avatars, greater than all the other Leela avatars. He is Swayam Bhagavan, Krishna, the root of all the other forms. So then why do we have to put so much emphasis upon Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? And the reason is actually he's not just a Yuga avatar. Our acharyas explained that though we call him a Yuga avatar, this was only a convenience. He had another reason or several reasons for appearing. And it just happened to coincide with the Kali Yuga. So therefore he said, okay, let me also do the Yuga job, propagate Nam Sankirtan. But the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's higher intention, we can say, or his real motivation was something else. Of course, we can say there's different reasons. So one of the reasons, of course, this is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, is that Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself, so he's also Swayam Bhagavat. Therefore, he's not a Yuga avatar as such, or lesser form. He's quite different. He takes the role of Yuga avatar, but actually he is also like Swayam Bhagavat Krishna, non-different. He also manifests all the qualities in him. Now there is, we could say that all these other forms are expansions like this. Shankarshan, who's Mahavishnu, expands in Garbhadakshay Vishnu. Garbhadakshay Vishnu manifests all the avatars of the material world. So they're expansions of Garbhadakshay Vishnu's expansion of Mahavishnu's expansion of Shankarshan, and Vaikuntha, who's expansion of Balarama, who's expansion of Krishna. So, Krishna on top, and the avatars way down there, and then the Yuga avatars, among the avatars there, even a lower category, bottom more or less. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is non-different from Krishna. He's at the very top, actually. So he's just playing the role of the Yuga avatar, but he's more than that, much more than that. He's non-different from Krishna. But if he's not different from Krishna, why doesn't he look like Krishna? He should just have exactly the same form, etc. He's Krishna, but he doesn't. In fact, he's the opposite. He's Akrishna. Krishna means dark. Akrishna means not dark, opposite, pale in color. So we say whitish or golden in color, pita, etc. He's the opposite of the black color. So he appears opposite way. We also say Lord Chaitanya is Bhakta Avatar. He comes not to announce himself as Supreme Lord, but to show himself as devotee of the Lord. So he's a Channa Avatar, disguised avatar, which is appropriate for Kali Yuga because the Kali Yuga avatar shouldn't be there. Actually, he's True Yuga. He appears in 3 yugas, so covers himself up in Kali Yuga. So he's a hidden avatar also and acts as a human being. So he appears quite different from Krishna. And again, in his pastimes, why doesn't he show Ras Leela and have affairs with the gopis, etc.? He's quite different. He does quite different activities as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So yes, he is non-different from Krishna, but personally, expansion of Krishna, but at the same time, quite different. So this is explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's an explanation that Krishna he has this experience of bliss in his relationship with Radha. And of course, Krishna is controlled by Radha. And he becomes dependent upon her. He's completely enchanted with her. So then he wonders, I can experience Radharani because I love her, but I cannot understand her love. And the reason I have love for Radha is because her love is greater than my love. But I can't understand what the greatness of that love. How can I understand how great is her love for me? That's Krishna, it's difficult. So then he says, well, maybe if I take the role of Radha and I look at Krishna, then I can experience the same love. So therefore he decides, I will be Krishna, but I'll also take the role of Radha and worship Krishna and then I can understand the greatness of her love. That's one reason why he appears. Another reason is that he wonders, Radharani has such love for me, and she's so attracted to me. But what does she see in me that's so attractive? What is that experience she has when she hears my flute, or she sees my eyes, or she sees my feet, she sees my teeth together? What is it she finds so attractive in me? So he cannot understand that unless he also takes the role of Radha. Yeah? So that's another reason why he wants to take a different attitude and form. Then the third reason is that Radha has love for Krishna, and her love is very great. She's experienced all the wonderful qualities of Krishna, but that love has a certain sweetness. In other words, when the devotee loves Krishna in Vrindavan, and particularly the gopis, that love is called madhurya, or very, very sweet. That has a very sweet taste to it, a very intimate, intense taste. So Krishna can experience love for Radha, but her love is greater. So how can Krishna experience Radha's love? That sweetness, intensity of her love. He cannot do it as Krishna. So therefore, he also takes the role of Radha to experience the sweetness of Radha's love. So for these three reasons, then he decides, okay, I gotta be Krishna, but I gotta also experience like Radha. So therefore, I will appear in the form with the mood of Radha. I'll be Krishna, but I'll have the mood of Radha. So therefore, it's described that actually this particular Yuga avatar in our Kali Yuga, once in the day of Brahma, is actually internally Krishna. And so he's Krishna Varnam. But his mood is different. It's the mood of Radha. So because of that mood of Radha, externally, his blackness disappears and he becomes golden like Radharani. So therefore, different colors are Krishna. He's Krishna Varnam, but in Tvisha, or the complexion, he is Akrishna, opposite. So he takes the mood of Radha and the complexion of Radha, in spite of being Krishna. So that's why he's different. So that's one way of explaining why Krishna is another, expands, or is another form as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not different from him, but at the same time different because his appearance is different and activities are different. So he is Krishna with the mood of Radha, acting as a devotee, worshiping Krishna to experience what Radha experiences. So this explains the conduct of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his pastimes, in particular his later pastimes. You will find in the Chaitanya Charitamrita later on, there's a description of his life in Puri, and there he shows most extraordinary ecstatic symptoms, very intense ecstatic symptoms which no one ever has manifested before. So that is because these are actually the symptoms of Radha and separation from Krishna, which are very extraordinary and very rare. So no one in the material world can manifest such symptoms. So we see that Lord Chaitanya, for instance, when he was in front of the Rath cart in Rath Yatra, the kirtan of the devotees and looking at Jagannath, he had ecstatic symptoms like crying and perspiring, etc. But not only that, his crying was so extraordinary that the tears came out of his eyes. They didn't just usually tears flow from your eyes. They didn't flow from his eyes. They shot from his eyes like squirt guns. The tears came out with a great force, spraying the people with his tears. So very extraordinary. No one else has those symptoms. Or another symptom is perspiration. You get to perspire. But what did he didn't perspire perspiration. Blood came out of his pores. So extreme were his emotions. Blood came on his head. It's not a normal symptom also. So this way, and of course he would faint on the ground, fall down like a tree on the ground in ecstasy. It's also described how in some of his ecstasies, his body became elongated, it expanded, and the joints would separate from his, the bones, the joints would separate, the bones would separate from the joints like this. And then when he came back to consciousness, everything would go back together again. So in this way, he manifested extreme symptoms because he's taking the mood of Radha, who has the most extreme symptoms in the spiritual world, and extraordinary symptoms that no one else can manifest. So of course, in the spiritual world, we have the gopis. They can manifest Mahabhava, where generally the others cannot. Other rasas cannot, but the gopis with Madhurya rasa manifest Madhurya rasa, Madhurya bhava, and then Mahabhava. But Radha has special symptoms even the other gopis don't manifest, because she's in the highest level. So symptoms of Lord Chaitanya are exactly those symptoms, and extraordinary symptoms of intense love of Krishna. Lord Chaitanya therefore is non-different from Krishna, but also has the intense mood of Radha, and therefore acts differently from Krishna. And as I said, he hides his nature as Krishna and as Supreme Lord, and acts as a devotee. And along with him, all the other associates, he may also be Supreme Lord, like Krishna as Balaram, etc. They also hide their identity. They don't act like, Krishna does not act like Balaram, he acts like a devotee also. So all the associates of Lord Chaitanya, most of them can be identified with members of our associates in Vrindavan. But when they come as associates of Lord Chaitanya, then they all hide their identity. And the gopis are there, but they're not gopis anymore. So in this way, everyone's taking the role of devotee of the Supreme Lord, and they don't show their natures as gopis or cowherd boys, etc. So Lord Chaitanya appeared in this material world in this way with these three reasons, but also on a covered form. Then he was thinking like this, okay, I want to appear. And then simultaneously, there was another reason, and that was Advaitacharya. So Advaitacharya is a very great devotee. He actually was, I think, 50 years old or so when Lord Chaitanya appeared. He was quite old at that time. And so when Lord Chaitanya grew up, he was very old, 70, 80 years old, just spending pastimes and going to Puri with the devotees, etc. So he was an elderly. And he was thinking, as a great devotee, the people here are so fallen. Many are involved in karma. Some are involved in tantra, worshipping Shakti, Durga Devi, Kali, etc. Some are doing karma kanda, some smartas, etc. Some are impersonalists, my body. Some are logicians. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a great logician, doing logic, etc. He also a personalist follower of Shankaracharya. So everybody was always different. Hardly anybody was a devotee at the time. So he thought this is all very hopeless. And no matter what he did, nothing changed. So we have to pray for the appearance of the Lord. So then he read, he's in Padma Purana, that if you offer a little water with tulsi leaves to the Lord, you can buy him. You can control him, just as you can buy a cow and then the cow is yours. So you can purchase the Lord by tulsi leaves and water. So he sat down on the Ganga in Shantipur, near Mayapur, and he began daily worshiping the Lord with Ganga water and tulsi leaves, form of Shalagram Shila. calling out, we have to appear in this material world because everybody is so fallen. We can't save us. You have to appear personally. So the Supreme Lord heard that in the spiritual world and said, okay, because you're calling me, you're a great devotee, I must obey your order. I'm under your control. So because of the loud crying out of Advaita Acharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in this world. But that was simultaneous, of course, with the idea that you have to save the people of Kali Yuga. And this was also the time for the Yuga Avatar. Therefore, Chaitanya appeared and he took up the role of the Yuga Avatar. So the internal reason, of course, was to experience the sweetness of Radharani, the grace of Radharani, etc. But then there was also the other reason, Advaita Acharya calling out, you have to save the people, and then the Yuga Avatar who has to propagate Nam Sankirtan. So Lord Chaitanya also took up that role, and so he propagated Nam Sankirtan to deliver the people. So, of course, in every Kali Yuga, 1,000 times in the day of Brahma, Supreme Lord appears as the Yuga Avatar to propagate Nam Sankirtan. That's the Yuga Dharma 1,000 times. But when Lord Chaitanya comes, of course, he does that, but it is different. One, because he is actually different from Krishna, so something's got to be different there because he's not just the Yuga Avatar anymore. He's Krishna himself, just as Krishna appears as Yuga Avatar in Dwarpa Yuga, but he's actually not the Yuga Avatar. He is Swami Bhagavan Krishna, quite different from the other Dwarpa Yuga avatars. So Lord Chaitanya also very different. He does the Nam Sankirtan, but it is quite different. Why is that? One, he's a devotee of Krishna, so therefore he's going to say, worship Krishna only, chant the name of Krishna. So, of course, all the names are powerful, but the name of Krishna is most powerful because Swami Bhagavan Krishna is most powerful, sweetest also. So therefore, he propagates chanting of Krishna's name, primarily. So that's one unique feature. And of course, Yuga Dharma is the process by which the majority of the people in Kali Yuga can realize the Lord. So Lord Chaitanya says, yes, you chant Nam Sankirtan in order to realize the Lord who is Krishna. So you chant Krishna's name. So this makes it unique. Whereas other yugas, okay, you could chant Vishnu's, whatever, but in our Kali Yuga, it's Krishna's name. So it's not Nam Sankirtan, but Krishna Nam Sankirtan. Special. But added feature is that Lord Chaitanya is not just a Yuga Avatar telling you to worship the Lord or telling you to worship even Krishna, but he's in the mood of Radha. And he's thinking of how Radha is so merciful. And he wants to reveal not only Krishna, but also Radha to the people of Kali Yuga. So he's got another purpose also. Let me reveal the love of Radha to the people of the material world, not just myself. Let them also get access to that. But of course, Radha does not exist separately from Krishna. So therefore, his desire is, let me reveal Radha and Krishna, not just Krishna, but Radha and Krishna and Madhurya Rasa to the people of Kali Yuga. In spite of the fact it's the highest in the spiritual world, it's the highest rasa, the highest relationship, still, because Radha is most merciful and Lord Chaitanya is most merciful, that he says, okay, let the people of Kali Yuga have the highest realization in the spiritual world. That is love of Radha and Krishna, Madhurya Rasa. But how to do it? So take the Yuga Dharma, chanting Krishna's name. We'll just add Radha's name to that. So we get Hare Krishna. So Hare is addressing Hara, who is Radha. So not only we have Krishna's name, we also have Radha's name. So it's Radha Krishna Nam Sankirtan. That's what he's propagating in Kali Yuga in order to realize Radha Krishna. And he makes this accessible to everybody in the material world. So Krishna appeared, most merciful. one of the outstanding features of Krishna that distinguishes him from the other avatars is, of course, his sweetness in his flute and his form, his devotees, etc. But another feature is most merciful. Yeah. So when he kills demons, like Bhutanai takes him to the spiritual world. So he's much more merciful than the other forms of the Lord. So Krishna's most merciful. But we also say, well, Chaitanya is even more merciful. So how is that? Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't kill anybody. Still they get prema. And not only that, he offers them the prema of Radha and Krishna, which is, Krishna doesn't offer that also, that's all secret. But he offers that to the fallen people of Kali Yuga, who don't deserve anything because they're most unqualified, and yet he offers the unqualified people, even the aparatis, gives them a chance to realize highest level of Radha and Krishna. He's most merciful, of course, also because he has the mood of Radha. Krishna is more merciful, but Radha is even more merciful. So as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's a combination of Krishna and Radha. The mercy of Krishna is there. We also have the mercy of Radha, who's even got more mercy. So therefore, he's more merciful than even Krishna. So therefore, he doesn't kill the demons. He delivers them up to Radha and Krishna by the means of Sankirtan. So that's the special feature of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We call him Mahavadanya, or the most generous and most merciful. In this, not just because he likes to deliver people, but because he delivers even the most fallen people and doesn't just liberate them or put them in Vaikuntha or even in Goloka. He also gives them highest rasa of all. That is Madhurya rasa and love of Radha Krishna, which is the rarest thing also. That's the rarest thing. And that's what he offers to everybody in the material world. So that is the special position of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the rarest things, of course, are most valuable and are kept secret. Just like if you have a lot of money, you don't want to leave it all over the place. Put it in a safe, or put it in the bank, or do something with it. You don't leave it out on the street or on the top of your refrigerator. So you have to lock it up or whatever. So great treasures, of course, are locked up and whatever, it's made very rare, unavailable to the normal person. Only those qualified persons can get to them. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has decided, okay, time to release the treasure. So it's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita that the treasure of Prema, particularly Radha Krishna Prema, is locked up in this treasure house, bolts on the door, etc. But then he comes with an axe, and chops off the locks, opens the door and throws out all the treasure. He gives it out free for everybody. So that's the nature of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And to assist him, of course, he has Nityananda Prabhu. So together they distribute very freely love of Radha and Krishna to the people of Bhakti. That's the special nature, the special mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So his appearance, therefore, is very special. He appeared 500 years ago, and the people of our Kali Yuga, therefore, have very special advantage. Previous Kali Yuga, he didn't appear. Previous Kali Yuga didn't appear. Next Kali Yuga is not going to appear. Once in a day, Brahma appears, and then people of Kali Yuga got this opportunity. So it's a rare chance for us to take advantage of whatever mercy Lord Chaitanya has given and the Nam Sankirtan he has given to achieve the highest goal. So we got special opportunities now that we have mercy Lord Chaitanya. So therefore we honor him by celebrating his appearance within this material world. Any question? Yeah. Oh, well, it would seem like that, but then the statement is that he delivers even apparatis. So the apparatis, the impossible ones, the demons or the apparatis. They don't like Krishna, they don't like devotees, they don't like Harinam, they don't like bhakti, they hate it. So these are the aparatis. But Lord Chaitanya's mission is to save even the aparatis. So it is possible. But then we have a little contradiction which says, don't preach to the faithless people. That's an offense. So we're very enthusiastic to preach to all the aparatis, but yeah, we're making an offense when we do so. It seems like that. And Krishna says the same thing at the end of the Bhagavad Gita. Don't speak the Bhagavad Gita to the envious people without faith. He also says the same thing. That's a basic principle. But then how do we then distribute the mercy of Lord Chaitanya to everybody? It's okay, give everybody. So the answer to that is that, yes, we cannot teach directly to these people. Those who are innocent, those who have a little faith, yes, we can preach to them and they will accept and try to understand the knowledge. Those who are atheistic and inimical, they will refuse the teaching and they will simply make aparadhas against the Lord. So that's why we have to avoid that. So how do we preach to them then? We have to be very clever so that we don't increase their animosity when they get exposed to Hare Krishna. So what is, let them hear, but don't say anything. Don't preach the glories of Krishna and say, let them hear the name. However, there's music or whatever, let them hear the name. Let them take prasadam. Let them see the form of Jagannath, etc. We don't say anything. We just let them see it, expose them to it, get them used to it at least. So that's a way in which you can gradually change the heart of the jiva who is completely opposed to the Lord. Gradual exposure, only without having to say anything. Yeah. So that is why we can't always directly preach and expect everybody to accept. We have to use other means also. And it's very gradual. And we may not even see the effect of it in this one lifetime. But if they get it next lifetime, eventually then they develop faith. When they have faith, then they will hear, and then they will become a devotee. So therefore we have to use the gradual method for some people, for the hopeless people. But still, it is possible. They can advance. Now, example is given of Shishupala. Now, Shishupala hated Krishna because he was killed by Krishna in previous verse. In previous verse also as Ranikasipu and as Ravana, he was killed by the Lord. So he hated the Lord as Shishupala. Vishnu, Krishna, killed me. He was like that. So he was always aparadi. And then he hated him so much, he was always absorbed in that form of Krishna. He was always uttering Krishna's name, that rascal Krishna. I have to kill him somehow or other. He's an imposter. Krishna's an imposter. So he would utter his name and think of Krishna very intensely in hatred. Of course, that's aparad. But the power of Krishna's name and Krishna's form is such that even for the aparadi, it eventually changes his heart, in spite of his hatred, etc. So eventually, Shishupala did get purified. Gradually, his hatred disappeared. Of course, he was not even aware it was happening, because even up to then he wanted to insult Krishna. But actually, that hatred gradually decreased because he was constantly uttering Krishna's name in hatred and thinking of his form. So finally, when in the Rajasuya sacrifice, when he was insulting, then at that time, ultimately, he reached the stage where the offensive mentality disappeared. And at that point, then Krishna released his Sudarshan chakra, which is full of prema. Cut off his head. But then he got prema, because the Sudarshan chakra was also full of prema. So he went to spiritual. He got purified and went to spiritual world. So even Krishna's name is such that, and his attractive form is such that it can deliver even the aparadis by constant exposure. So we can expose people to Krishna's name if they are offenders. And we shouldn't expect immediate transformation, but over time, then gradually, they can change. Their hearts can be changed.
You were saying before that the other Kalputas,
Yeah.
So my question is, people that are in other common universe, they might have received
Vishnu frame or some avatar frame. Yeah.
in a jiva, and they're always
Yeah. Well, usually you cultivate as a devotee when we're cultivating consciously, then we may cultivate and develop a certain attraction to a certain form. And this may continue for several lifetimes as we advance. Maybe we get up to Nishta this lifetime, we get Ruchi next lifetime, and Asakti next lifetime, and Bhava next lifetime, Prema next lifetime. So generally, the impressions of our attachment will carry over. So if we worship Ramchandra, for instance, when we're in the sadhana, get up in Nishta, then we get born again, and again we have this idea of attraction to Ramchandra, and we get up to, Ruchi, then Asakti, and Bhava. And then we get prema for him also. And when we get prema, then we, or even above, we can realize the form of Ramchandra. And then we go further, get excited by that, we get prema. And then we go to the spiritual world and meet Ramchandra there. But generally, according to our sadhana, we develop that sthaya bhava, and that becomes the permanent bhava. And then that's what we realize in the spiritual world also. So because we are attracted to that, and we create ananda from that, then we don't think of changing it to anything else. So therefore, even in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, Murai Gupta was actually Hanuman in a different form. And when Lord Chaitanya said, okay, now time to worship Krishna because Krishna is superior, then that disturbed Murai Gupta a lot, and he thought about it all night. Next morning he said, I cannot do so. I've sold my heart to Ramchandra. Cannot do anything else. I cannot follow your order, Lord Chaitanya. I cannot worship Krishna, worship Ramchandra. So Lord Chaitanya is very good. He accepted that. So he didn't change, in spite of the fact that Lord Chaitanya is also Supreme Lord. He say worship Radha Krishna. He could not do so, because his nature was to worship Ramchandra and Dasya. Well, in general, but everything is inconceivable. So highest rasa is Madhurya rasa, but in Goloka, in the spiritual world, not everybody's Madhurya rasa. We have Sakya rasa, Vatsalya rasa, etc. So there is variety there also, and they don't change. They don't jump from being a cowherd boy to a gopi. And otherwise, everybody would be gopis in the spiritual world. Everybody, and Vaikuntha would be empty. Everyone would migrate to Goloka and become gopis, but they don't do that. So in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, majority, yes, he's preaching Madhurya rasa, but other rasas exist there also. Lord Chaitanya's mother and father in Vatsalya rasa. Nityananda is in Sakya rasa. And also there's other 12 associates of Nityananda who are also in Sakya rasa. They're Gopals or cowherd boys in Krishna Lila. So they're also in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, in Sakya rasa. So some of the followers of those associates of Nityananda, then they developed a Raganuga in Sakya rasa, taking Sridham and Subal as their ideal. Sakya rasa, they meditate on pastimes with Sridham and Subal, like that. So they developed that to some degree. It disappeared later on, but that was current for some time also. Within Lord Chaitanya's movement. So not everybody was in Madhurya rasa. There was Sakya rasa there also. I don't hear of any Vatsalya rasa, but of course, Satyamata was in Vatsalya rasa. Jagannath Mishra is in the same. Vatsalya rasa, of course, is there in Vallabha Sampradaya. It's all Vatsalya rasa. Vallabhas, they worship Krishna as a child. And Vatsalya. But generally, yes, emphasis is on Madhurya rasa. So then most devotees there will go towards Madhurya rasa, but then others, there's exceptions to there, maybe Sakya rasa would be possible.
this idea of true yoga, does it mean that there is no yoga other agent the whole thing? You know, there is actually personality.
What's that?
The idea of true yoga,
Yeah.
there's no incarnation of yoga.
Yeah.
Does it mean that the nation always a incarnation? Or there is actually like no personality?
Oh, no. It's explained that it says Tri Yuga, so the Lord only appears in 3 yugas, not in the 4th yuga, Kali Yuga. But then we have the idea of Yuga avatar. So then who appears as the avatar in Kali Yuga? So one explanation, I mean, Jiva Goswami says that it's not in the song, that therefore in Kali Yuga, the Lord does not directly appear, but the Shaktivesh avatar is the one who propagates the Yuga Dharma in Kali Yuga. So he is simultaneous avatar, but not Vishnu. He's a Jiva with special powers. So the Shaktivesh avatar who appears in Kali Yuga propagates the whole thing. Then, of course, we can also say, what about Buddha and Kalki? So we have to assume they're also Shaktivesh avatars because the Lord cannot appear in Kali Yuga. So it couldn't be Supreme Lord in his full power. It has to be a Jiva with special powers. So that anyone who appears in Kali Yuga would be a Shaktivesh avatar, including the Yuga avatar. But then, Lord Chaitanya is special. And Krishna also special. So they're not the Yuga normal. So the usual avatar for Dwapara Yuga is not Shama, but green. It's usually green, green color one. And the usual color for Kali Yuga is black. Krishna color black. But we have Shama for Krishna, and we have Ita or golden for Lord Chaitanya. So they are exceptional cases. They're both not Yuga avatars, actually. They are Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. Oh, well, the classification is useful in an objective way for us in the material world in order to choose a better form or a higher form. In other words, if we have 2 choices, you want, 60% Ananda or 80% Ananda or 100% Ananda, then everybody say, okay, 100%, we want 100% Ananda. But if you don't know, then you can choose a different form of the Lord. You can 80% Ananda or whatever. So if we give them the choice and we say, okay, this is what Krishna's got the most, he's the highest, he's got the 100% Ananda, then people are likely to choose that form, worship that form. That's one objective reason for that. The same with the rasas. Ultimately, they're all perfect, but nevertheless, we put Madhurya rasa at the top. It's the most intense, and it has the highest bliss in it. Yeah? But nevertheless, not everybody prefers that. Just mango juice is there, grape juice is there, sugarcane juice is there. Some people prefer mango juice, some prefer grape juice, some people prefer sugarcane juice, but nevertheless, we'll say, okay, mango juice is the king of all juices, but some people, okay, well, let's drink mango juice, but others say, no, I like grape juice instead, or I like sugarcane juice instead. So we can put the information there, and people that, intelligence, they can strive for that, but may not convince everybody. And they must have their particular attraction. So that's how it's open. So we put the hierarchy there, the higher and lower, but we don't force anybody to say you have to do this or not. Still, they have their preference and they can choose. So it's there for information's sake and maybe some guidance, but it's not absolutely, it's not forcing us to reject one and worship the highest one. Just for our privilege. Spiritual world, they don't think like that at all. They're just involved in their particular relationship. They think that is the highest. So those in Sakya Rasa, the Kahara boys say, we got the highest rasa with Krishna. The gopis will say, we have the highest. And the servants will say, we have the highest rasa. We got the most bliss because they are blissful. They reach a capacity of bliss in that particular form. And so they're very satisfied with that. And Krishna's also satisfied with them.
Once in a while, there's the
Well, obviously, the more we advance, for instance, we go from sadhana to nartana vritti and then nishta and ruchi and asakti. We see there gradually the taste is becoming stronger until we call it ruchi itself. Before we don't call it ruchi, but there is some ruchi there, but it's covered over. And then the nishta is kind of a little bit evident. When it's very prominent, we call it ruchi, and when it becomes even stronger, we call it asakti. So that taste is gradually developing. With other forms of the Lord, there isn't any choice because it's all dasya rasa. You cannot aspire for Madhurya rasa with Ramchandra or Sakya rasa with Vishnu. It's all dasya. Just only with Krishna we get this choice of when we get more taste, which direction it's going to go to. But generally, it will go in a certain direction. That taste is for Krishna, but it's not Krishna in general. It will become more particular as we advance. When we're not advanced, okay, Krishna in general, we listen to all the pastimes. When we get more advanced, the taste will probably be more prominent in one direction, Madhurya rasa, Sakya rasa, Sati rasa, whatever, be stronger and stronger. So as one advances, then we can say the choice may be more evident to the devotee. And when you get to bhava, that's where you realize Krishna with a particular relationship with Krishna. So before that, you have the preparation for that. Okay. Hare Krishna.